All right, everyone, welcome to this particular YouTube channel. If you're looking for how to actually master Microsoft's Power BI, this particular channel will definitely help you. So maybe your question will be, what actually qualifies you to be able to teach me Power BI? Don't worry, I have this particular YouTube channel that has over 60,000 subscribers and over 200 videos is on this particular channel that will teach you advanced Power BI and Microsoft Excel. On this particular new channel right here, what we want to do is to actually get you started from the scratch for you to understand the elementary part of Power BI and Microsoft Excel in order for you to be able to pick up how to create solid projects. So in case you have not subscribed to this particular channel, please go ahead and do that, as I will be walking you through on this particular playlist how to install Power BI and how to actually get data into Power BI, how to get the data cleaned, and how to create relationships, and again, how to write DAX, which is data analysis expression. So after all of this, we're going to actually look at how to actually create great reports or how to answer business questions with the data that we have. So in this particular playlist, whatever we do right here can be applied to any data set at all that you pick. It's not actually restricted to sales data. So what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Then follow the playlist I'm going to be dropping on this particular channel for you to actually learn Power BI from the scratch. So let's get started. If you just launched your browser, so the first thing you have to do is to make sure you type in download Power BI or download Power BI desktop. You're going to find this very link here with Microsoft on it. Just go ahead and click on it. Then it brings you over here. So if I scroll down a little bit right now, I am going to find this particular part where you can choose the language you want to use to install your Power BI desktop. If you click on it, you have lots of languages here. It could be Spanish, it could be French, English, or any other language you want to use at all. So I'm going to leave it at English, then click on download and click over here to 64-bit. If your PC is set up to, your Windows is 64-bit to actually work better, then go ahead and click on download and this will be downloaded to your PC. All right, I already have it some kind of, downloaded to my PC, and over here I can click on blank or report if you have your Power BI desktop opened on your PC. This is what you're going to see, but this is the old view. So we can actually decide to use the new view by actually doing some setup inside our Power BI desktop. So over here, I click on File, and I'm going to come to Options and Settings here. Then I click on Options. The very first thing I'm going to do over here now is to make sure I click on Security. Under Security, I want to make sure I scroll down and have this particular Use or Map and Field Map Visual turned on. You get it right now? It's very, very important. If this one is not turned on or checked, make sure you check it as well. It's very important. Before you click on OK, let's go down to this particular part where it says Preview Features. So make sure all interact object is being checked. So once you have done that, scroll a little bit down and you're going to find the current file, which means this particular settings will only affect the current file we're going to use. So for the subsequent files, it wouldn't take any effect. So go ahead and click on data load. Then from here, we have to make sure we say auto detect new relationship after data is loaded. We don't want that because we want to learn what is task schema and Snowflake or creating our data modeling all by ourselves. So make sure you actually deactivate this one as well, where it says import relationships from data source on first load. We don't actually want that. So once you are done, you can just go ahead and click on OK. And this is it. So you have to make sure you restart your application once this is actually done. Click on OK. Then the next thing now is for you to make sure we close this and don't save. So we have to reopen it again. So we are on the process. Now that we're back here, the first thing we have to do is to click back on the blank report. So our view has changed. You can now see we have this over here and we have this plus here that you can actually use to control whatever you see on this particular part. So you can see it, so you can bring some of those ones here. So for now, in case you don't have any knowledge of what this is all about, don't worry. In a very short time, you're going to know why we have this right here. So what you're seeing now is the canvas where you develop your dashboards or your report. It's a blank slate right now. There is nothing on it. So let me introduce you to home. So under home, you have this particular part where you have data. So this is where you actually get your data from if you want to actually get started to analyze your data. So you have to come over here to get data, and you can pick data from Excel, from Power BI, and from data flow, Dataverse, SQL Server, and any one of them. So if what you're looking forward to using to get your data into Power BI is not here, you can click on more, and from more, it's going to give you all of this. So this is everything here. If you scroll all the way down now, you can see all the sources available, or you can individually look at the folder that you have here that actually, package those ones that are very related together for you. So this is Excel, text file and others, database, and, Microsoft Fabric. So we cancel out. We are not picking data for now. So to quickly get data that are very common, you can use either of these ones here or those ones right here. So aside this, the next part we are going to be looking at now is transform data, which we're going to be talking about in detail later after all. So we have our visuals right here. Click on it and you can go all the way down. Those are all the visuals we have. So I'm not going to teach all of this in detail right now. We're going to be doing all of this in action, but the next important part is this particular part. This part is called report view, where you develop your report. This part here is called table view. Because we have no data inside here right now, it cannot display anything. And this very part here has to do with your relationship or modeling view, where you actually create your relationship between tables, which is very important. Those are the key vital places you should actually get yourself, introduced to for the first time. If you have gotten the resources file for this training downloaded, just go ahead and have it opened. You're going to see this particular zip file. So unzip it and it will give you all of this. So the very first thing is to verify the kind of files you have inside them. So just go ahead and click on any one, then right click and go over to properties. Then from there, you can find this, right? So this is access database. So you can do that to this very one as well, and it will show you Excel. So the next thing you have to do is to make sure you verify this, which is very important. So go over to your file and go to options and settings, then go to options here. So from there, just go to data load under current file and make sure this and this is not checked because we want to create our relationship all by ourselves. The next thing right now is to load our data in, which is very simple. Go to this particular get data right here and click on more. From more, we click on this particular access database and we click on connect. So once again, we click on this one. So here we have all of the tables inside that particular access database. We don't want everything. We want to actually get this one in, get this one in, this one, and this one. So for this particular DIM product right here, we don't want to use it, but for now, I'm going to show you something why we shouldn't use it. Then later, after all, we're going to pick the right one and use, but right away, let us go ahead and take it in. So for this particular part right here, you can see I did not take this particular dim date right in. That was because we're going to be creating our date to 100% ourselves using DAX in Power BI Desktop. Okay, once you have done all of this, you have three options here. The first option is to load. When you click on load, it's going to load this into Power BI Desktop straight up for you. And when you click on this particular transform data, it's going to first of all bypass Power BI Desktop and take it to Power Query, where you can clean your data for you. And cancel means do none. So because we're not sure of our data, we can click on transform data. Okay, everyone, we are right here. We can verify to see if those tables are okay right here. I think they all have data inside them. So the very first thing is to go over here and take a look at this and see what it is that we have here. Okay, now if I look at this one now, this is the channel key, which is very important. It's the primary key we're going to use to connect to a foreign key inside our fact table or any other table that has connection to this table. So for this one, it's called channel label. It's not really important, so we are going to get it off. And the next thing again is the channel name here, which is very important. And for channel description, is actually a replicant of what we have right here. If I scroll to this end, you can see the ETL from database and last date updated data as well. So we don't want to have all of this. So what do we need to do? There are several ways to actually get things truncated inside Power Query. So now look at this particular part right here. We call it applied step. Inside other applications, you can do Ctrl+Z and Ctrl+Y to redo and to undo, but inside Power Query, there is nothing like that. Instead, you have what we call recorded steps. So you can time travel to actually repair things or, insert things in the middle of the applied step you have. Let us try it. So if I actually hold my Control key now, I can select this one, and select this very one here. Then scroll all through to this particular part right here. I can select this one. Then what do I need next? I can right click over here and say remove columns. So before I click on remove columns, please look at what happens here. Now we have a step added for us. So let's say what we have done is wrong. We shouldn't have removed everything. We can actually do this and it will bring everything back for us. Another way to have this removed is to actually make sure you click on what you want to see. Those two is what we want to keep. Then you can actually right click and say remove other columns. Then we still arrive at the same thing. So we have to know that this particular data type we have right here right now is 100% correct before we leave. So I'm going to show you how to identify the right data type when we get to fact sales in our table. Okay, the next one is this particular one right here. If I click on it right now, let us scroll through to see if all of these are really important. So we don't want to keep this one and as well this one. Then I can just go ahead and use the delete key on my keyboard to have them removed. And I have a step added to here. You get that right now? Very important. So over here, as you can see, this is a repetition of what we have here. So for that, we don't want this. We can have it removed as well. Then we now have something that we want. Next again is to go over to this particular promotion right here and find what we want and what we don't want. For this particular one, we don't want to keep it and this. But the question is this: how would you know if you have to keep something and if you have to remove it? This depends on your client or your boss in the office. You can actually ask questions to know what they want and what they don't want based on columns, rows, and all of that before you can actually truncate anything finally. Okay, once I've done this now, because this is coming from database, it's actually added this particular ones for me. So all I can do now is to hold my Control key to select here and select here. So you can verify and see what is being selected. If I scroll to this end, those ones are part of it. So I click on delete and I have this. Okay, the beautiful thing is this: those ones here, they are blanks. As you can see, they are null. But how can we ascertain that they should be removed because we have nulls inside them? So let us quickly go over to home and to view, and from view we click on column quality. Under column quality, we have valid, error, and empty. So once you have valid to be 100%, which means inside this particular mean quantity, there is no single valid data here in any of the rows. So we can have it removed. The same thing to the max quantity right here. So hold your Control key and click and remove this. The next thing we have to actually repair right here, right now, is the start and the end date of the promotions. So if you look at it right now, it is showing based on date and time. So first of all, if you want to check if this particular date or the time right here on this particular date is valid, what you can do is to click over here and change this to time. So once you have done this, you can actually click on this particular drop down right here, and you can see we only have 12 AM, which means this particular date is not valid, so we can have it removed. And to be on the safer side, what you can do is to make sure you ask your boss or your client to actually give you go ahead to do otherwise. So what you can do right now, this is a date, it's not date and time, so we can click over here and change it to date. So which means we have just mapped the right data type for it. So now date. So correct. So let's scroll to this end and find out what is missing again. So 100% correct. The next one is for we to go over to our main table, which is our fact table, where we have over 2 million rows, which is 2.2 millions of rows we have right here. Okay, the very first thing is for me to do the same thing I've done previously, because this particular time is not valid, is only 12 a.m. So come over here and select this date, right? Okay, in case you have not mastered this, and that thing you can do is to go over to transform right here. Once you're on transform, make sure you do Ctrl A. It will highlight all the columns down to the last row for you. Then you click on detect data type. So sometimes it will try, sometimes it wouldn't fix it all. That is why we have to learn how to fix them all by ourselves. So right now, it is still giving us this particular date and time right here. So what can we do is for we to click over here and verify it first, click on time. So we can now see that it's giving us two options. Do we want to replace the previous step or we want to add a new step? So because we don't want to actually mess up with this one, I can say add new step because I'm going to be removing that step later. Then what I'm going to do right now is to click over to this particular part here and see it's only 12 a.m. So why would we have just 12 a.m.? Which means this is not really correct. So go ahead and actually have this removed. And now the right data type should be date. So let me show you how to quickly master your data type. I just replaced this very one right here. Make sure you click over here and see the symbol for decimal, for fixed decimal, for whole number, percentage, and others. That will quickly give you an overview of what it is that you should be expecting when you open up your file inside Power Query to know if the data type is wrong or correct. So quickly go through all of this and find out which one should be removed. So if I go over here right now, I want to remove something from here. The very first thing I want to remove, if I scroll to this end right now, is my total costs. So we want to calculate our total cost all by ourselves, and let us see if we have columns that will support that for us. So we have unit cost right here. So we have unit price and we have quantity sold and we have returned quantity right here. So which means starting from this particular return amount, that is discount quantity, will be left. So this discount amount here can be removed. So we can now come over here now and hold our shift key to multi-select all of those one as part of it. So if I go over here now, you can see what is being selected. So I've done multi-selection. So what I'm going to do is to remove one of the selection from here, discount quantity, okay, discount amount. Okay, I think that is all. So we have removed from discount amount, total cost, total sales amount, and others. So your delete key on your keyboard can do this for you. But let me show you another way to do this. So if we come over here, this is where I want to start from discount amount. So let us go to home and click over choose columns, then choose columns again. So it will give you the list of all the columns you have. So we want to start to remove all of this one below, then make sure you uncheck everything and start checking those ones you don't want to keep. So we don't want to keep discount amount, total cost, total amount. That was because we can create a DAX measure that will do this for us. So we can remove this one as well, this one away from here. Now, if we're going to remove all of this, should we do this? If we do this, it's going to be wrong because if I click on OK right now, it will only keep those ones I have selected from me, which means we have to do the opposite. So what do? Do we have to remove this again? I guess no. Click over this particular part here that has this particular settings icon and it will open this back for you. So you can actually bring everything back on So we now choose what we want to keep. So we can actually choose everything, and we select this, and finally this very one from here. So we can do return amount. So we take it off as well. So we can do OK. So this is another way to have a particular column removed from your table. So with all this right now, I'm going to tell you 100% that we are done from here. The next thing we have to do right now is to load this particular data into Power BI. Okay, let us look at something here. Here we have unit price is on decimal. That was because we have it actually on decimal. As you can see it over here, we have it on decimal. Anything point, this decimal is very important. So this one here is a whole number. Try to identify the symbols, is very important. So for this one, I wouldn't do anything on this. I'm going to keep this just like that because later after all, we're going to actually remove it. But we have one table we have not brought in, and it's actually from Excel. So do we have to go back to Power BI again? No. Just click over to New Source, then click on Excel. And now we're going to get our product categories. Then click on OK. So they have the same thing. This one and this one, they have the same thing. I want to choose this one. Then let's go ahead and click on check. Otherwise, you wouldn't see OK here. Now we have it. So quickly, what we need is what we're going to select. So we select this particular two. This is what we need. Others can be truncated. So all I have to do is to right click and choose remove other columns. So this is what we have. Once we have gotten this done, the next thing is for we to close and apply. Then we are going to push this now into Power BI Desktop. It will take a little while to actually have this right here. So all you have to do is to actually pay attention to this particular part because you're going to have all the tables right now. So let us give it some time. All right, we have everything we have actually imported into a Power Query and got the transformed in here. Right now, as you can see, they have appeared right here. If I go ahead and click on this right now, nothing happens until I actually drop this down. Then I see all the tables we have, inside, all the columns rather, we have inside here. This is what it is, right? Okay, let's take a look at this particular table view. And if I click on this now, it will give me what I have there. If I click on this right now, can you see it now? This is what it is that you need to see. Okay. Now, one other thing I want to show you is that whichever column you don't want to use right now, you can actually hide it. So for it not to display when you come over to this particular view. So let's say for this particular subcategory here, I think we have few columns. For this very one, we have few columns. But when it comes to this very one here now, we have lots of columns that we can actually hide. So how do we do that? Let's say for promotion now, we have lots of column too. So coming over here, you can actually choose to hide any of those columns you want to actually hide. So this is promotion. You don't want to see promotion. This particular eye icon, make sure you check it, and that will actually have it hidden for us. So the promotion category is needed. The promotion key is not needed. It's only needed when we want to create a relationship. We do that. So the promotion name is needed. The promotion type here is needed. So you might want to keep that as well. So this particular start date, if you don't want to use it, you have to make sure you have it hidden as well. So there is no point in keeping it, there. Then you actually make sure you do this. So let us go back now. We are under promotion. If I go back here now under promotion, you can see we only have few columns. So you can do that to other columns inside your tables. Okay, let us click over here right now under model view. So when we get to model view, we have this. This is exactly what we really wanted to see. We don't want to actually have a relationship created for us because we want to create it all by ourselves 100%. All right, everyone. Now that we have successfully brought all the tables we're going to be using for our analysis. Let us look at how to create connections between them. Before we start creating these particular relationships, we have to look at the two types of tables we have brought into Power BI. The very first set of tables we brought in is the fact table, or we can call it transactional table or sales table. This kind of table contains transactional data, like quantitative data, like quantity, cost, price, and any other quantitative values, and the transactional dates. This very kind of table contains what we call foreign keys that can actually be used to identify the keys in our second table. The second table we brought in is actually called the lookup table or the dimensional table. This particular kind of table contains what we call primary key, which is a unique identifier for every single item found in this particular table. There is no repetition of keys. Every single key we have in this particular table has to do with something very unique for every single item. So let us look at this in action. Before we start creating a relationship, let us look at why the relationship is actually important. So over here, I'm going to click this particular part here, and it will click over to this particular part, which is my fact table. I will go to quantity sold. Now I have this 37 million, right? So let me convert this to a table. So quickly we have this, and the figure is not really visible to us. So you can collapse any of those ones you don't want to use again. So we'll bring this one on. Then the next thing I want to do right now is to go to views, values, and make sure I put it on 20. That gives you something like this. The next thing again is to go over here. Let's do this one to be 17. Now we can see it's visible. All right, so once we have done this now, next is for we to go back to data. Here is our data. You can now see all the columns here. So if I go ahead and put something like, let's go over here, like promotion now, promotion name, nothing happens. Can you see? Nothing really happens because let's some kind of make change. Look at it. The promotion should actually come before the numbers. So to do that changes here, you click on this one, and until you see this particular green, then you release. Now we have done this. Okay, if you take a look at it right now, over here, as you can see, we have the grand total repeating itself over and over again. That was because there is no relationship. Before this one can work, let us make a duplicate of this. So Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to paste, and we'll move this over here. So we can now click on this one now. To make changes to the promotion name, we can click over here and click over here. Then instead of us to get something from promotion, we rather get something from the fact table. And what we want to get should be, I think, let's go with promotion key. Do we have that here? Yeah, promotion key here. So with the promotion key, as you can see, we have different values for each keys. And those keys are what is used to actually, identify each promotion names that we have right here. Do you see that now? So now, because they are living in the same table, there is some kind of, filter context between them. So the reason why this one cannot actually field from that filter context, but was because there is no relationship. That was why we need to come over here and create our connections. I hope you get this right now. Okay, the very first thing we have to do is to make sure we move all our tables right through this edge. I'm going to keep this one over here. Just move them here. So bring this particular table in here as well. So remember, you can do something like this to adjust it. You can keep this over here. Then I can keep this one over here. Then I can keep this right at this particular part here. So the arrangement I've done is optional. You can do whatever you feel like, but because my relationship will flow from the one side to the many side, so putting it above the many side is something cool, but it doesn't really add to the figures or take off from the figures. You can just do whatever you like. Okay, now it is time for we to do our relationship. So remember, we can find under the dim here, which is the lookup table, we have the primary key and the foreign key is right here. So what keys do we want to use to actually connect these two tables together? So the very first thing you have to do is to verify the key you have right here. We are going to be using the promotion. Over here, we're going to be using the promotion key to link to our promotion key inside this very table. So you can either push this particular key and drop it over this one here, and release it. So once you have done that, it's going to open up this particular part for you to verify what you have done. So which means we're linking this particular promotion key from our, our dimensional table into our fact table. So, and the kind of cardinality that is existing now is actually one-to-many relationship, and we have other types of relationship. But this one here is good. We're going to choose this one and make sure this particular relationship is active. Then you click on OK. So you can see we have this. If I actually take this down now and have this over here, so we have this arrow floating down for this particular part, which means you can use any dimension or any column from here to filter this table, but you cannot actually use any column from here to filter this table because the filter is actually coming from this particular table into here. That is why you have this particular arrow down. And the one here that you have over here now means you have one key existing here, and the asterisk that is used here means you have multiple of the keys found here inside here. That is why we call it one-to-many relationship. The next thing again is for we to connect our channel. So we have the channel key and we can actually push this channel key to here like this. So don't touch anything, just go ahead and click on OK. That is as simple as that. All right, next again is for we to look for the next key from this particular table, and that will be our product key. So which I'm going to actually find and push it into the right key right here. So just go ahead and click on OK. To this particular end, what we have just done right now is called star schema. So star schema is a situation where you have one fact table connecting itself to multiple dimensional table or lookup table. So it's called star schema. So the question you might have in mind right now will be like, why don't you connect this particular one? So when we make this particular connection, it is not more star schema, but this one right now is star schema. But those particular tables here are very important. We need to connect them as well. So let's find out how to do it. So over here, we have the product, category key. So right here, we have the product category key as well, right? So what should come into here? So we can verify it by clicking on it. Then we have the subcategory key. So which means this particular one will be connected to this particular subcategory key here by just clicking on yes to actually accept it. So can you see it now? Then we click on OK. That will actually establish the same thing we have before, many to one relationship for us. So can you see? So this particular one serves as the many side, and here serves as the one side. So now we are linking this one to the category. So we bring this over here. We click on OK. So this kind of relationship is no more called star schema. This is called snowflakes. I think snowflakes. I don't know. That spelling is correct? Yes, of course. Okay. Now this is snowflakes. Kind of relationship because we now have other tables that connect itself to a dimensional table to this particular one. So which means the relationship will flow from here down to here, and now it will flow to this particular end right here. You get it now? Now this particular relationship here, now as you can see, let us bring this down. So this one here flows from here to here. So we can still use this particular table here to filter the figures we have right here, because it's actually going to start injecting down to here. It's as simple as this is how you create your relationships, and there is nothing more. Very simple. Now that we have created this particular relationship, let us take a look at this on the report view. As you can see, we have everything here corrected. So we now have the promotion name taking its actual numbers instead of repeating the grand total all through, which is something very important, right? So now let's go over to the table view. So previously I said I was going to change the product table, but for now I wouldn't do that because I think I've gotten what I want right here. I thought I have not actually updated it. So it has been updated from the back end myself, or by myself rather. So all I need to do right now is that we don't want to see every single tables or columns in these particular tables. We can actually have some of them hidden. Just like what I've taught you is very simple. Just go ahead and find out what you need to hide so that you shouldn't see everything we have here like this, because we have lots of things right here. So first of all, I want to go to to this particular part and come over here under home. Now click on transform data. This is the first time we are going back to Power Query we had left. So click on transform data. It has landed us back to our Power Query. So click on this particular product. So over here on product, what we need to do right now is to make sure we get some of those ones here away. So you can see represent invalid. So we don't want to keep anything that is blank. So status here, we don't want to keep it as well. We don't want it. So sales stop date, we don't want to keep it. So we just have to verify available for sales date. We don't want to keep it. Get that, off. So what I'm going to do right now is to make sure I click on the first one I don't want and hold my shift key to click on this one and delete. So now we now have this. So we want to be using this here. As you can see, it's expressed in dollars. And if you do use fixed decimal, it will take into consideration your region and the currency in your region for you. So you might end up not seeing dollar from my end. You might be seeing different currency like my Naira currency, symbol. So you can see something different if you're using the same data type as fixed decimal right here, right? So with this now, I would like to use this unit cost and unit price for my calculation. So remember, we have the same thing inside the fact table. I'm going to show you the difference between them. So let us go ahead and click and apply this. So the changes will be applied right here. So we don't need to do any other thing. So now if you are here or if you have gotten to this particular part, please give me a thumbs up and as well share this to your friends and family. Make sure you subscribe if you have not done that before. It's very important for the algorithm to actually push this to people who need to see this. Before we start speaking the language that Microsoft Power BI understands, let us look at what is a measure. A measure inside Microsoft Power BI is a calculation used to analyze data like sums, averages, or percentages. It is created using a formula called DAX, which is data analysis expression, and updates automatically based on the data you are viewing, making it dynamic and flexible for reports and dashboards. So now that you have understood what measure is all about, let us look at the two types of measures that we have. We have implicit measure and we have explicit measure. The implicit measure has to do with the automatic calculation that you have when you bring in data. For example, inside your data, if you have any column that has to do with values or figures, like the quantity sold, if you drag this particular quantity sold column into a particular card or any other visual, it will automatically give you a summation of the number you have inside that column without you writing a single DAX code. This is what we call implicit measure. This implicit measure cannot be reused again. It is only going to be valid immediately you drag it into a particular visual. The next one is actually the explicit measure, which is the user-defined types of calculation or measure inside Microsoft Power BI. This kind of calculation can be reused over and over again. For example, if you create a measure that has to do with the total quantity, you can decide to actually create another measure that filters this particular total quantity by a region, by product, or by any other dimension or lookup value. So now that you have understood what the difference between implicit and explicit measure is all about, let us look at it in action. Let us now look at the difference between the implicit measure and the explicit measure in action. So over here, we have a blank canvas here. So what I'm going to do right now is to actually bring in from fact sales. I'm going to bring in the sales quantity in here. Automatically, the sales quantity goes into a card and it gives me 37 million. So what I want to do now is to make sure I break this down by the brand. From product, we have the brand name by this particular brand right here. And I'm going to convert this into a table. Then quickly, for we to see what is going on here, we can actually make sure we come over here and go to values and bring this to 20. So for the header to appear so well, for we to see it, we can actually bring it to something like 18. And this is what it is that we have. Okay, over here right now, as you can see, we have this value. So in case you want to have comma separator right on it, you can click on this particular implicit measure and use the comma separator right here. That will give you something very nice. All right, so with what we have right now, if you look at it, this is what we call implicit measure, because what happens here is this. We did not write any single DAX code to have this generated. This is something natural inside our data. So going over to the table view here, we can now go down to the fact sales table over here. And here is the column that produced that number we just saw previously. So here we have it. So this is the minimum purchase. And if you scroll all the way down, you have the maximum purchase right here. So the summation of all of this gave us what we have sitting in here right now. And we have filter context right in it. But what is the disadvantage of using this inside the report? That was because if you want to reuse this to create another calculation, you cannot reuse it again. Okay, let me show you an example. So over here now, I am going to create a new measure inside this particular same fact sales table. Then inside the fact sales table, I would go over to table tools here. I can now see calculations. So I'm going to choose new measure. So there is another way to do the same thing I've done right now, which I'm going to show you in a jiffy. Now we are about to write our first measure ever. So what I'm going to do right now is to say total QTY sold. So for the total quantity sold, we are going to actually call a particular DAX code. So which is going to be sum. So with the sum function here, you can use your tab key. It will open a bracket for you. So to zoom in and out, you can hold your control key down. Then you can do plus and minus on your keyboard and it will give you something like this. So now with this right now, what we want to do is to actually create a summation of this, which is an aggregation. So if you type in your fact table or just F, the first letter, it will give you all the columns inside this particular table. And this is the one we want. So for every single bracket opened, there must be a closed one. So we have to close the bracket here. Then we hit our enter key. And that is all we need to do. So once done, go ahead and hit this particular comma separator right here. And let's see what the explicit measure would look like. So I'm going to push this particular explicit measure in here. And I have exactly the same thing. There is no difference. Can you see it right now? Here is the value from the explicit measure. And this is the value from the implicit measure. Tell me the difference. There is none. Okay. Now, let us now see where the implicit measure cannot do a lot and where the explicit measure stands out. So let's find out. So let's say we want to, let's go over here. And now we scroll, we go over here. Let's do under category, under subcategory here, or let us use the category. Under this category right now, we want to get all the quantity we have sold for audio under the product category. So how do we calculate that? So you have to remember this particular product category name here is important. So even though if what I'm about to use right now, I have not taught you, don't worry, I'm going to show you later in the class. So right click from here and go to new measure. This is another way to actually insert a measure. So over here, what you're going to do is to make sure you type quantity for audio, right? So this is the quantity sold for audio. And to get this done now, we're going to use a function called calculate function. Don't worry, in the subsequent videos to come, I'm going to explain what the calculate function does and how you can actually use it. But for now, just pay attention. So let's say what we want to do is to use this particular one we have right here. So we cannot call it because it is actually an implicit measure. Let's try it. So if I say sales, now it does not show up. What is showing up right now is the total quantity sold that we have created. So even if I try to actually force it and complete the sales quantity here, nothing shows up. We are just seeing some bunch of text. So instead of that, if you don't have a measure sitting outside, what you can use right now should be a function inside our calculate function. Then we can go ahead and actually say, okay, inside the fact table, we have a column called sales quantity. Here we go. We can now close this one. So to close your bracket, make sure any bracket open must be closed. Right now, we are not yet done. We are going to embed another function inside this function. So for that, we have not closed the bracket, but we have closed the bracket for this very one here. Shift enter, we can now close the bracket for this one. So if I go ahead and hit my enter key right now, this wouldn't make any difference. It is going to return the same exact thing for us, right? Let me push it in first. And again, I'm going to have the comma separator right on it. So now let's go ahead and push this in. So if you look at it, it gives us exactly the same number. But right now we are about to do the magic. So which is go back over to quantity for audio. So now quantity for audio now, we now step down inside here, or not here rather. So it should be come here and put a comma here. So it will now ask you for filter. If you pay attention, anytime the calculate asks you for expression, just know that the expression it's asking you for is a figure or values, not text. So for the filter now, the filter has to do with either numbers, values, or some kind of text. So we now have to filter this. I'm going to teach you all of this, but just to show you the proof of the difference between the implicit measure and explicit measure, that was why we are here. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to say, okay, inside the product category. So we have the product category here. So we are going to say dim product category. So let's just go. Yes. So we want to find where it is equal to audio. So except if you don't get it right. So after this, you just go ahead and hit your enter. If what you have done is right, we should see a different value. So seems something is a little bit weird. Now we have blanks because we have messed it up. So let us quickly go over here and find out what it is that we want. So product category. So we want the one that says name, which is product category name. So we go back over here, we click on this. So as you can see, this one is actually the table. So we must make sure we are doing the right one. So we are even on the promotion. So product, can just do this. So category name. So here we have this very one here. If I now hit my enter key, we should have what we are looking for. Now, can you see this? It works. And why does it work? That was because we actually embedded this inside here. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. But do you know, if I go ahead and actually do Ctrl+C to copy this now and create a new measure, so paste this one inside here, the easiest way to have done this is to remove this particular one from here, because we already have a particular measure that calculated our total quantity for us. We can use that measure, and that measure is called total quantity sold in here. And after that, we just do a comma and we hit our enter key. Oh, now this is this thing. So rename measure. That was because we are having a duplicate of the same name. So I can just put 2 here. Now hit my enter key. This should give us something exactly what we have previously. So if I bring this in here now, sorry for that. Let me just click on this one first. I can stretch it now and bring this in. So can you now see it now? We have the same exact results. This one and this one, they give you the same exact result. This one gives you the same exact result. But this is it. This one is implicit measure. This one is explicit measure. This one here is actually the combination of mere explicit measure with, filter. So why do I call it mere? That was because we embedded this inside the calculate. So instead of us to use this very one, already we have it here, and it's sitting inside this particular table. We can reuse it. So when I now say the explicit measure allows you to keep on using a particular measure over and over again to create different dimensions of your calculation, you can now see where that lies. So for explicit measures, they are fine if you know for sure that you're not going to actually use it for any other thing. You can actually do that. So it's as simple as that. So this is exactly what the implicit and explicit measure is all about. So because you're going to be writing DAX, I'm going to show you more of the explicit measure in the subsequent videos to come. All you have to do is to pay attention to every single thing, and you will learn DAX and be able to create a good report inside Power BI with ease. So I hope this will definitely help you. So keep learning. All right, everyone. What we have just done is actually the foundation to data analytics using Microsoft Power BI. If you have any queries or any issues, do not hesitate to actually use the comment section to let me know what your problems are. In the subsequent videos to come, we're going to look at how to use the same data to actually solve business problems. So all you have to do right now to follow along step by step is to actually subscribe to this particular channel. See you in the next video.